Welcome to the Ken McElroy Show. I'm your host, Danielle, and I'm here with Ken.
Hey guys, what's going on?
So we have people joining us. We just want to wait until they get in the waiting room. So what'd you do this weekend?
Oh, well, I got to have dinner with a former mentor of mine, somebody that this is back in the 90s. I went to his seminar. His name is Tom Hopkins. Tom Hopkins is based out of Scottsdale, and he lives here now. And I've actually met him more formally about 8 or 9 years ago. So we played golf and all that, but I hadn't seen him in a while because of COVID and the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it was cool just sitting there. You know, he's still at it, man. He's still one of the early pioneers of how to, increase your sales. And so that was a highlight of my weekend.
Yeah, and then also Kyle came into town, your son.
My son. Yeah, he's going to be here tonight again.
Oh, nice.
Yep, so I'm excited about that. And, he's getting ready to graduate soon.
Nice.
So, and he's going to work for a lender. So it's going to be great. He's going to be able to, understand the metrics behind, the money that, raising capital for equity and debt for real estate deals, all kinds.
Awesome. And we can't forget to mention you were in Florida for the Tony Robbins
event.
Yes,
I know. But, secret on that one. So you guys have to tune in to see that.
Yep. So, people are getting in there now. So let's go ahead and start the show.
Okay.
Today we're talking about a deal that you have in escrow down in Texas.
Oh, yes. So, as you guys know, it's been really hard to find deals. We have a, full-time acquisition guys running around the country looking for stuff. We're always making offers. Every single week we make a bunch of offers, and we found not only one deal, but two. So it's really, really cool. We found that, one deal came in normally, as it would, from a broker. It's, right now it's super competitive, as you can imagine. So a deal came in, but that's pretty normal for us to have deals come in. We probably underwrite 6 to 8, maybe 10 deals a week. And at least our head of acquisitions does, Bobby Bull. And this deal we really liked, and the numbers made sense. It was a true value add, and so here's actually what happened, which is really, really. So I like to find deals that are really broken, and what happened was in 2019 when Hurricane Harvey came into the Houston area, the dikes and the levees, started to fill up, as everybody remembers. And so they were in jeopardy of bursting. And so they released all this water, and it flooded all these areas and, of course, flooded real estate.
Yeah.
So this property was one of those properties that got flooded in 2019. And so what was interesting was I was like, oh, right on, because what happens is then insurance kicks in and renovates, so that was already done. So I flew down there 10 days ago and took a look at it. And as you would imagine, every single air conditioning unit, every single downstairs unit had brand new granite, brand new cabinets.
Because they had to redo it all.
Yeah, right. When it's just fully water damaged. So everything on the first floor. And so, brand new stainless appliances. It's basically a brand new property on the inside, and air conditioning units are expensive. So anything that was damaged was replaced.
Yeah, Joe from YouTube was saying he's surprised you found anything that cash flows.
It's hard to find. So anyway, what I loved so I immediately knew this is going to be great because it was, listen to this, it was a $17 million insurance claim. So just to fix all the downstairs units on this one property. So anyway, I went and checked it out. And what's cool is the upstairs are not renovated. So you have this property that was built in the 90s that's, we'll call them original upstairs, and then this beautifully done downstairs.
Because that's where it flooded.
Yeah. So what you have is a natural way to see what a value add would be. So you can say, okay, let's say the first floors are 1,400, and the second floors are 1,100. And same floor plan. So if you spend, $10,000 on the upstairs, then you're now going to have a $300 value add per unit. Now, not every unit is at floor plan, so there's 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms. But the point is, I was really excited because that was an incredible opportunity to see, 1, what the value add was, 2, how much they were getting, and 3, see the delta between the first and the second. So it is a true value add. We haven't been able to find a deal like this for a while. And so we got a little aggressive on the price. And Ross and I, my partner, you guys know Ross McAllister, in this process, there were 20 bidders, I think. We got to the best and final. There was a final 5. And then there's a whole questionnaire you have to fill out. And the questionnaire is, what's your team? How many deals have you closed? Where's your debt and equity sources? And we had to have all the stuff done. So we had to have our debt term sheets and all that kind of stuff all put together. And it was like a 5-page Q&A. And then you get on the phone with the seller, and then you get to another best and final round, and then they select you, and they they negotiate the heck out of you, basically. So we ended up getting a deal, and we ended up having to put up non-refundable money day 1. So, in real estate terms, we say we're pregnant. So we are literally pregnant. Ross and I had to put $500,000 up non-refundable day 1. So
how can our audience, do you think, relate to that? What is the lesson there?
Well, first of all, it's super competitive to find deals that are cash flowing and value adds. And everybody, obviously on one hand, I'm saying, hey, the market's going to crash, the market's going to crash, the market's going to crash. And what I'm talking about is residential. And when residential crashes now, obviously, just like it did in 2008, it's going to put more pressure on rentals. And I don't know if you guys have checked anytime soon, but the rental market is on fire right now.
In a lot of markets, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's people that are selling their homes and renting. Mm-hmm. So they're scooping the cash right now. So the rental market's going to see a lot of pressure. But what was really cool is in the middle of all this, we found out that the property next door was also for sale and wasn't listed. And we ended up negotiating that one and got that in escrow. So the 2 properties together are about 648 units.
And what's the benefit of having 2 properties together? Can you explain that to the audience?
I can tell you exactly in just one sentence. It's a $200,000 savings. So in other words, by combining 2 operations and making it one. So you need 1 manager, you need 1 maintenance supervisor for the whole project, because it's so much larger and you're combining them. There, you've got 2 landscapers, you got 2 marketing budgets, you got all these things, right? And you have inefficiencies. When you combine them together, you get all kinds of efficiencies in many, many ways. We've already figured that out. I've done this before. It's not easy to do, to find properties that are next door to each other and combine them. So we'll rebrand the whole thing, make it an entirely new name. We might even paint the whole project, make it look the same, redo the gates. They have entry gates, et cetera, et cetera. By the way, these are beautiful properties, 9-foot ceilings, beautiful brick. I mean, these are
when you already have property in the area, so you know the market and you understand the market.
I already own a property about a mile away, so we love the submarket. And so anyway, it's going to be a real true value add. We think that it could be well north of $500,000 of NOI growth just by combining the 2 properties. And there's a washer and dryer play, which means that there's hookups, but no actual appliances, so they have these rooms. Actually, they have laundry rooms in every single unit,
Right.
So they're like 6x8, but they have the hookups in there. So we just buy the sets, put those in. That's about a $50 upgrade. So all of that stuff, times 600.
So it's a really good deal because, if you would have just had the one on its own, you had to look at the numbers, but now that you have the 2 together, it just really increases the value.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I mean, we get the combined operations, we got the value add that I just talked about, plus we get the washer and dryer play. All of that means NOI growth, cash flow goes up, value goes up. So I think it's going to be pretty close to a $20 million value add.
Nice. Really nice. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to dive into some premium questions because we have a few today.
Of
course. Our first question comes from Brian from Premium, and he wants some advice on how to pick a commercial real estate agent to sell his property. And he's struggling about the 6% fee on the $3 million sale price.
Yeah, that's pretty high. So I would say, especially now, things are selling. Hopefully.
Commercial too?
Yeah.
Okay.
It depends on what it is. You bet.
Okay.
Self-storage is on fire right now. Some people are snapping up office buildings. I own an office building, and we've definitely had some people move out because of COVID and they've shut down. But then we've had some others are expanding, and we had actually one of the tenants in the building that we own actually made an offer on the building.
Oh, wow.
And because they are expanding. So anyway, first of all, I think that's really high.
Okay.
Yeah. So just to put things in perspective, I pay 1 to 3%.
Okay.
Now even on the residential, you might find a 6% on like a lower end residential. But I even had a realtor reach out to me on my personal home, which I'm not going to sell, and said, I'll sell your home for 1%.
Well, right. I know that it's a little bit of a bidding war between realtors.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm trying to say here is, I don't, 6% is full boat. So what I would do if I were you, what's his name?
Brian.
Brian, do not obviously use that commission structure. And I would definitely go out, basically all you're really doing is you want to make sure that you're going with a company that has a pretty big database of buyers.
Uh-huh.
And also they're going to get competitive. It's super competitive right now, as you guys know, especially on the single family side. So you should not be paying those high rates. I know a lot of realtors are going to be upset with me on this, but the truth is it's time to negotiate. If homes are selling in a week and I heard the other day, this is actually kind of funny. The guy said the list price is the starting price.
Yeah, it is right now.
Yeah.
I don't know about commercial, but in residential.
Right. Well, so it does depend on the market and what's happening. The other thing I heard that a guy said is if you're going to sleep on it, you're not going to sleep in it, which I thought was kind of funny. But the point is there's a lot of money being thrown around right now in real estate. I'm not sure, Brian, about this particular deal that you have, but 6% is as high as I've ever seen.
Would you ever tell him to self-list?
You could actually. It's depends. It depends on his time, and there's contracts and due diligence and all that kind of stuff. So there are advantages to listing it through a company that knows what they're doing for sure. But I just think that it's pretty competitive, and I think that's really high.
Yep. All right, let's move into the next question from Long. Long wanted to know, she's buying a house in Las Vegas for $730,000, but it's only appraising for $667,000. So her lenders is suggesting her to go with 2 loan options. The first one being 80% of the appraisal and the second one being a HELOC for the remainder.
Wow.
I think this is happening a lot because when I got my appraisal, the bank was really happy mine appraised for what I paid for it.
Guys, for those of you who don't think that there's a housing bubble, I want you to hear what's just happening. So she's buying the home for how much more?
$730,000
more than it's appraised for.
Yeah, actually almost 65, yeah.
$65,000 more than it's appraised for. Okay. Now, I don't know what's in the appraisal, but that's aggressive. The other one is when you start to see lenders doing let's call it a HELOC at 3.5%?
6%.
At 80%, and basically giving you the balance a second at a 6%.
Well, right. So the first one was the 80% is the 3.3, and the second one was the HELOC at 6.
Yeah, you're starting to finance. So now what you've done is I'd be very careful of this deal personally. I don't know if real estate's going to continue to go up, But there's all kinds of red flags. The first one is that you're getting most of the money, and that second piece, that HELOC piece at 6%, is significantly higher than obviously that fixed rate first.
Plus, the HELOC's not normally fixed.
Yeah,
she didn't put in here,
Yeah,
but it's
HELOC,
probably adjustable.
It's probably adjustable. So I think that, I don't know the market. I don't know if, it sounds to me like the appraiser thinks that it's worth a lot less. It sounds a little risky to me personally, but, it's hard to say. But those are all things.
That is a red flag, though, because I've been hearing this is happening a lot.
Okay.
So
yeah. So what basically is happening is lenders are lending way above the appraisal and giving you lots of money so you don't have much down. That's essentially what this means. I saw this in 2008. This is what took everyone down. This was the second piece. They start giving you a second above.
Well, before they were calling it a balloon payment, but that's not very much different than a
still
HELOC,
might be.
Right? Yeah.
It could be a balloon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the piece. So normally, we were seeing, let's call it 30% down. Now we're seeing 20% down, and now we're seeing 20% down, and
we'll finance the 20%.
Yeah, we'll finance the 20%. So you just got to be really, really careful.
Okay. So to keep going here, this gentleman, I don't have a name, but he wants to do an investment in Washington, and he paid 50% of the $750,000 value, and his salary is $200,000. So basically, he wants to buy a house, and he has enough to pay 50% of the $750,000. Okay. But he's nervous to take on that kind of loan.
Okay.
So I guess he would be taking on
50% loaned.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's a really, really good question. If it's your primary home, you got to take a look at the cash, and the debt itself. Does it say how much is the rate?
No, but I mean, if it's only $320 or $375,000, the loan's probably not that big for a $200,000 salary.
So here's the way to look at it. It's a great question. First of all, we got to kind of move toward inflation. And we gotta talk about this, because this is really the real issue. So you either put up most of the money in cash, or you finance. So those are the two scenarios we've got here. And the one thing that I would just draw your attention to is, if you can get, let's say, what did you locked in at 2.8?
Yeah, 2.8.
So if you can get like a 2.8 loan, and this is a 50% loan
or
to
even
value,
a 3 something.
But 50% loan to value, you should be able to get a heck of a rate. Okay, you're going to see the over 3 rate when you're up in the 70 to 80%. You're going to get a much better rate if you're at 50%. So that basically means that you could be borrowing at about the rate of inflation.
Right.
So there would be no reason not to borrow.
Can you explain that to the audience, though, exactly what that means?
Yeah. So what that means is the Fed has said that the targeted interest rate is around 2%. They've actually loosened it to say that it could be even more. If you go back and look, it's not uncommon for us to see high 2s, low 3s on interest rates. I'm sorry, on inflation rates. And so those inflation rates, that's the if that basically means that you're borrowing money at less than inflation, potentially. That's good, because at the same time, your cash is actually going down based on the inflation rate.
Well, right, because something we're not covering here is that since you have the cash, if you don't put the down payment, you're sitting on the cash.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're either doing one or the other. And so my suggestion, I don't have any issue with that 50% down. As long as you can get a rate, I would definitely shop around on that and try to get someone in the low 2s or the mid 2s, I should say. And also that if it's your primary home, you're going to be fine. If you're not planning on selling that thing in the next year, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're actually, then it really doesn't matter, right? Because because I don't know exactly where this is.
I think it's in Washington. Yeah,
but Washington's
it's true.
I'm from Washington. It's very different in many areas, as you know. To like Tacoma is very different than Seattle, and so as an example, and so. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but the point is I don't have any issue with that. I think that, as we said here before, we got to be careful with cash.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are afraid of holding too much cash.
And they should be right now.
Yeah, because of the trillions of dollars that we've just dumped into the economy and what that's potentially going to do on the inflation side. So if you're sitting in a bunch of cash, then you potentially, that might get devalued over time due to inflation. So sometimes it's better to have that in an asset that's going to be hedged by a fixed rate loan.
Right. And that's exactly what I did, because I was sitting on cash when I bought that condo. And the reason I bought it is because I didn't want to be sitting in cash.
Yeah. So it's the same kind of scenario. And if he has a good job and you have some good reserves, then you're going to be fine. And the payment on a few $100,000 is going to be low anyway. It's going to be less than you're going to see in rent. That's for
true.
Sure.
I don't know what his situation is now, but it's probably going to be less than he's paying in rent, or
for
close
sure.
to the same.
Yeah.
So this next question comes from Janice. She said, my tenant won't pay me and hasn't for a few months, but they just bought a new car. Is there anything that I can do?
Yes.
And just to clarify with the eviction moratorium.
So right now we're under an eviction moratorium, in the CDC, and that could get kicked down the road. So we actually had something similar like this happen. There has to be financial hardship as part of, what they need to fill out, and they have to fill that out and submit it. And they have to sign it. Mm-hmm. So you can challenge that. So I do know that we've done that on some instances. I'm not personally knowledgeable of how, but I know our property management folks, we had this exact scenario where a gentleman decided he didn't want to pay rent, and then he showed up in a brand new Ford Raptor truck, and so they challenged it. And he ended up paying. So because I'm not exactly sure on how all that financial hardship works, but that doesn't seem like the kind of behavior for somebody that has a massive financial hardship, then they can't pay rent, right? Maybe they could just be taking advantage of the situation.
Yep. And I want to take one YouTube question here. We have a question from David, and David wanted to know what part of the country you really are looking at investing in at this time.
Yeah, so it's a really good question. I think that you have to continue to look at where people have been going in the past. So that's just kind of accelerated. So yes, there are some new things, and California, of course, has created a lot more. But if you just go back to the basic fundamentals pre-COVID, and you take a look at the fastest growing states, they're going to be Florida, Texas, Arizona, as an example. They're always in the top. I think Tennessee was up there. So, those have now just really grown. And so
it accelerated.
It accelerated those things. There's also other places like Idaho that have popped up. And I think that people are looking at affordability. From my standpoint, when we're buying, I'm looking at where the jobs are. So when I flew to Texas, flew to Houston last week, one of the big things that this property that we're buying, it's next to the Texas Medical Center. In fact, it's a massive campus, and it has hospital after hospital after hospital, and it's really known for that. And that's one area that we're going to see massive growth as we age. And people are going to continue to move to Texas for affordability, as one example. So I really like Texas. Not every area in Texas, but you have to be selective, and you have to buy prudently in those markets. Like in Houston itself, there's over 20 different submarkets. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. When people make those generalized questions,
they're very different submarkets. So. You could have some that are super poor and some that are super rich. Obviously, you don't want to be in either of those. And then you have some that are right in the middle, middle class that are growing, and some that are affordable, some that are not affordable. Some businesses are moving, some businesses are
Right, you got to look
moving
at the
in.
jobs
Yeah.
in the area.
But we generally, at the moment, we're really high on Arizona and Texas. And we're keeping our eye on Florida, but we're not the only ones. Everybody's looking at Florida.
Yeah. Well, one of your issues with Florida, though, is all the natural disasters.
Right. So one of the things when you're looking at expenses are what are they? And so you start to look at property taxes and insurance, and there are, as you guys know, Florida sticks down there. Some of those hurricanes. It seems like there's a hurricane that beats that state up about every year, every couple of years, and not to mention just there, they come along the Gulf states, Louisiana and certainly Texas.
The flooding that goes along with those,
all of that.
Yeah.
So there's wind, there's tornadoes, and there's flooding and all those kinds of things, and that really jacks your insurance rates up a lot.
Yeah, the one nice thing about Arizona, there's not much natural disaster. Texas has quite a bit, too.
Yeah, and it's still really affordable here in Phoenix. I mean, you can buy a new home for $250,000, $300,000 in Phoenix right now. Now, on the outside, but if you start, let's say you're driving between Phoenix and Tucson, it's a good quality of life here, and it's warm. It's really warm though in the summer.
It's very warm.
But right now it's like 85 degrees. Everybody's got the top down, and we just got done spring training, just finished, and there's all kinds of great stuff here.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
So, well, that wraps up today. Thank you for everyone tuning in. We always answer everyone's premium questions. So just head to kenmcelroy.com/premium, and we'll see you guys next week.
Hey, thanks guys. See you next week.